feel like I should have it.
All right, everybody. I am sitting with somebody who I have known for years and years and years. Like 2020, I think, was the first time we met. So at
I thought you were
least
going to say 20 years. I'm like,
it feels like 20 years. It feels like 20 years. Her and I have spent lifetimes like crossing paths. So
yes.
I'm so thrilled to be sitting here with Megan Hoeffner. If you don't know her from Instagram or anything like that, she goes by the Embodied Warrior. She has a incredible yoga teacher training. And what we're really going to talk about actually is her incredible school of sound. So for those of you who love to go to sound baths or are interested in adding that into your practice or are a little bit curious about the science, this is your moment. Turn it up, save this episode. I'm so happy that you're here to chat with us, Megan.
I am really thrilled to be here. Thanks for the introduction. And I think it's really funny how we met just randomly online.
Yeah, we are online
We-
friends, you guys.
Yeah, this is what happens when you direct message somebody that you're an alien, and the next thing you know, you are stuck with them for the rest of your life.
Literally, so like we were in a group, like business container together, and like on the like side comments, you know how on Zoom, like if you're in a meeting, you can like privately message somebody or you can message to the group. And Megan messaged me. She's like, I feel like I'm an alien. I think we're aliens together or something like that. Like we're both. I can't remember what I said, so I must have said something weird that Megan was like, oh, this is my girl.
Yeah, you can always tell. And was what 5, 6, 7
So
years.
I think it was. I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020, to be honest. But it was like
It's
right in that realm.
really long. It had to have been 2019 because that's what I just feel like. I don't know.
I think that it was too because we were like, oh, maybe we'll host a retreat together, and then something happened at the retreat center, and we ended up going, I think June of 2020 to Costa Rica together.
Just a vacation.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a retreat. We had bought stuff, and then like stuff happened at the center, and we were like, well, we already bought the tickets, so we just went. We had literally never met each other in person.
No. And that's where you hosted your retreat, was
Yes.
at Bodhi.
Yes.
And
Bodhi Tree.
Yeah, Bodhi Tree. We
Yeah.
were right down the street from it. So
yeah, we went and took a class there, and I was like, I love it. And so years later, it ended up coming back. So, but Megan, that's the thing is like, I think the people that are supposed to be in your life come into your life, and they don't always. You're like, well, this is like, I have made so many friends on the internet. You remember when your mom said like, hey, don't make friends with strangers on the internet? And I was like, and I've done the complete opposite. And I was like,
totally.
hello, everybody. You're my people. Come in.
Yeah. Don't get into random people's cars. And I'm just like, yeah, do you want to take me to this waterfall? Like this in a random country, don't know their language, never met them in my life. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get in your car and drive 2 hours with you. Totally. And then hike in the jungle.
Yeah, and it'll be fine. And it has been fun. We have survived and lived to tell the tale.
Yeah. Not sure if I'm going to give my daughter that advice, but.
Well, hopefully this episode will be far enough back that Bella won't know, you know?
No, podcasts will be, I don't even know what the thing will be whenever she's our age.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm just thinking about where I was in my journey back at that point, and I've worked with you for energy work for a very long time. And so you knew me through all of these iterations of my life. And when I first met you, I had experienced some really big tragedies in my life. I lost my father and I lost my partner at the time. And so I was experiencing like so much grief that I was disassociated from my physical body. And I was up in my upper chakras, which is why I was identifying as an alien. And I was really relating to all of these different types of energy work from a really esoteric or whimsical or, pseudoscience, like woo-woo for a lack of better terms, standpoint, because I could not handle or go through the three-dimensional or like the science aspect of these teachings and of these practices, because it just wasn't where I was in my journey.
Yeah.
And so I was searching out things that made me feel lighter, like reduced my depression and anxiety and helped me to get up, get out of the
pain.
to get out of the pain. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, okay, yes, I see the benefit of having these types of, quote unquote healing modalities be brought to you in a very felt experience and not have a lot of the science terms behind them, because it meets people where they're at. And now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, okay, but the science is so important
Mm,
this, because it's not pseudoscience. It's
no,
not just an airy fairy like woo practice. It's
no.
really grounded in science. And so now that I have the capacity to meet the work in that level, it's like it's all I want to talk about. It's all I want to
Yeah.
do. It's all I want to teach people about.
Well, and that's why I was like, we talked like this was her and I went on one of her retreats last month, the month before. And it's so funny because we talked about her being on the podcast and we talked about talking about a different subject. And a few, like 2-3 weeks ago, it didn't pan out. We were going to try and record it there. There's too much stuff going on. Fast forward, we're like, we'll get to it. She messages me. She's like, I think we need to talk about the science of sound. And because there are so many of you, I know probably every single person who listens to this episode has been to a sound bath. And they do not understand why they feel so good afterwards. They do not understand, again, like you're talking about, some of the science behind what you're experiencing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things you can feel in a sound bath or a sound healing or a sound ceremony or a sound experience, whatever it is you want to call it. And they're not always good.
Yeah.
So, yes, a lot of people leave feeling lighter, less anxious, more clear headed, relaxed, rejuvenated, like they had just slept all night and it was 20, 30, 40 minutes, right, of the actual
Right.
sound. But just like the work that you do with spinal energetics and the other, healing sessions that we have worked with, it brings up a lot of stuff that is hidden in there that you're not necessarily ready for or can explain. And that's why it's so important to understand what the hell you're doing. You're not
As
just
a
up there
practitioner. Yeah.
right, as a sound practitioner, you're not just up there bing bonging bowls around or hitting a gong, or just go to Amazon and get all the beads and flat brim hat and just look like the person in Tulum on the beach. And
I love that you include the flat brim hat because if you know, you know.
I'm not saying that I don't also have a flat brim hat, but there is a certain persona
There is.
that we're trying to hopefully eliminate from sound healing, because it's like the hot new thing. It's the new trend in the wellness world. There's sound baths everywhere. Everyone is a sound healer. And the thing is, not everyone has training.
No, and I would say actually more people than not actually don't. They're like, oh, this isn't that hard. And they don't understand the mechanics of not only music, but how frequency affects your biology. And so, like, I've been to some and I'm like, oh gosh, like, it gives me like a visceral reaction. Like, my body is very clear that this is dissonance, not resonance. And so it feels really disruptive to the system. And afterwards, not that I'm seeking to feel good, but my system feels disjointed and my nervous system feels severely dysregulated because of the sound.
Yeah. And it's not even a skilled practitioner that knows all of the musicality, but it's honestly more so knows how to work with people's nervous systems and knows how to work with people's entire body. So not just their physical body, not just their nervous system, but how everything works together. And just like not all practitioners are the same, not all practitioner trainings are the same. And I see it all the time, right? The weekend course where you're going to be trained, blah, 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 for $49 or this or that, or those online courses that are like $17 on sale. And
Yeah, there's one website where you can become a yoga teacher, a hypnotherapist, I was like, I could become a doctor on here. Like, and it's literally like everything's like $30. I can't remember what it is. And I was like, there is no way. Like, again, that's like being like, well, I learned it from, and again, not knocking ChatGPT or Claude or any of those things. I use all of those tools. And I think it's a great way to like verify things or, kind of like cross-reference yourself or cross-check yourself, all that type of stuff. But I do think there is value in understanding where you're getting your information from is just as valuable as the information. Pause. Oh. Bizarre, right? Menagerie of animals.
Cat?
I do have a cat, Bruce.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I not meet Bruce?
He's probably hiding.
Oh, okay.
He always hides. He is not a people person, but he loves my office. But then he was like, okay, now let me out. And he'll just scratch at the door and meow the whole time. So, okay. So anyways, just as important who you're getting it from. Continue.
Yeah. Like where you're getting your information is super important, and how the information is delivered.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you can learn from, and I'm just thinking back to my master's degree, right? I took some of the hardest classes from this professor that was just, he was so intelligent, but he could teach the information in a way that, and it was biochemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's like, no, I don't understand this. But he was able to break this topic up in a way that someone like me, who had just came into the science world, could understand. Like, it was my first class in my grad degree. And just a backstory, I am not a scientist. I am a dancer. I did my bachelor's of arts in dance and environmental studies, and went to get my master's in dance. And then very quickly, I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And I went to get a master's of science in applied health physiology. Well, I couldn't get into my master's program without taking all of the prereqs that I didn't have.
Right.
So I had to jump into anatomy 1 and 2, kinesiology, and exercise science to get into the program. And then so I did all of those. And then I went into my master's degree, and the first class that I took was biochemistry. And I'm like, okay,
You're like, throw me in.
Yeah, like just tee me up for a fail. No, I got an A. I got a 90, 95 or something overall in the class. And I'm not going to toot my own horn, but it's because that
Toot your own horn, girl. A 95 in a biochemistry class? That shit's hard.
Yeah. And I did get over 100 on one of his exams, which I kept. But he just delivered the material in a way that made me understand it and want to know more.
Yeah.
Like, it made me.
He was a good teacher, which then makes you a curious student.
Yes. And I would do the things that no students did. I would read the PowerPoints before and highlight and read the book and fill in the questions and all the things. And that is who I look up to and aspire to be when I'm sitting in that teacher role. In my sound practitioner trainings and my yoga teacher trainings, it's not just hammering this information into them, but it's really meeting my students where they are.
Yeah.
If I have a group of people that have no science background, I'm not going to hammer in those big scientific terminology right away. I'm going to use the layman's terms, and then I'm going to sprinkle in the big sciencey terms so that they don't get overwhelmed.
Warm up. You have to meet. It will go right over people's heads. Again, if you're taking a class that's on, I wish I could remember the name of this website, but the website that I'm talking about. You know,
the one with all of the $30
certifications for $30. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, if information is just being spat at you, that doesn't always mean you're absorbing it. So then you're also going out into the world in whatever you're doing and tooting this certification and, saying, well, I'm certified or I'm, whatever, I'm licensed, whatever it is. And it's yeah, but you didn't absorb any of the information. Some of it depends on, again, not just the material itself, but how involved you are, how the teacher teaches. Choosing your person is really important.
Yeah. And yes, you can go through this course, but again, if the information is just being, hammered at you and none of it absorbs, it's not going to land in your body. You're not going to
Mhm.
understand what to do or even be able to understand what you're doing and explain it to anyone when they ask you like,
Yeah.
what's the sound bath
Yeah.
and why should I go to it? Like,
Yeah.
what is it? Like,
Well, and then you just
why am
say,
I?
well, it makes you feel really good. It's kind of like, when you listen to music and it feels good, it's kind of like that. It's very soothing for you. You give like almost too generic where people don't actually understand, again, some of the science behind it because you don't understand it. So then you can't teach it.
No. And a big component of my trainings not only is to work with the instruments, so you get to understand, the tools that you're going to be using, but to work with the language, to work with what we're talking about right now is how to explain it to people and how to explain it to
Mm,
somebody that's coming to feel better versus somebody that's coming because they want to understand why it makes them feel better. So we kind of strip it all back and come, on day one with having them explain what sound healing is to them. So they are like, okay, this is what sound healing is. For me, this is my personal journey with it.
yeah.
And then we start to layer in, right, the foundational science aspects and the foundational energetic aspects. So they can start to say, sound actually meets you on these 7 different energy centers in your body. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, that's weird. Like, why would that make sense to me? Be like, you're kind of like a car. You get your car tuned up when you have those lights that come on the dashboard and they're signaling that something is off, right?
Mhm.
Something needs to be refilled, some filters need to be changed, blah, 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 blah. That's essentially what's happening on your energetic body. You just don't have any signal lights that you are currently aware of. And so you're coming to, whether it's a sound bath or Reiki or any other type of energy system, to basically get your check engine lights fixed
Yeah.
and adjust the levels of the energy in your body.
Right.
And like something that I use a lot in just like a quick explanation of it as you go to a massage therapist for work on your physical body. This is like an emotional massage. So it's
Yeah.
going on the inside and helping to adjust and reorganize all of the stuff, all of the emotions, all of the things that have happened to you in your past, in this life, in your past life, whether you believe in that or not, right? Things get carried. And so this is more of like an emotional massage.
I love, okay, first of all, I love that you used two metaphors. You guys, if you missed it, she used one where she related it to a car and then another one where she related it to massage. And this is a really important step that I want to bring up to you guys, especially if you are a wellness practitioner or, again, if you've ever gone to a sound bath or anything like this where you're like, I don't quite understand something. One of the greatest ways to explain to people what you do is to find some kind of metaphor. The brain, if it can relate it to something it already knows and is familiar with, will actually absorb the information so much quicker. So when you're going to a training like Megan's, where she's like, hey, let me meet you where you're at. Tell me what you think sound healing is. I can then, as the lead or as the teacher, the facilitator, I can be like, okay, this person has a clear understanding of the chakra system. I don't need to like fluff that up, but this person has no clue, has never done yoga, has never done anything in that realm, never been to an Ayurvedic practitioner, is not really familiar, but they've gone to a couple of sound baths and they just really like it. They like the way it feels. So they're curious about more. I'm going to explain to this and I'm going to use metaphors that are very different for both of these people. And you have to be able, the more ways that you can explain things, the better that people will receive your message. So like Megan's saying, like, she's like, well, one of the elements that I think actually makes a good facilitator or a good training is actually teaching more than just the skill itself. And Megan's doing that. Megan's literally like, hey, here's how you tell it to people. I just saw the other day a spinal energetics practitioner. She has this like breath work training that her and somebody else developed. And it popped on my feed and she was talking about like, I actually like my business blew up because of social media. And I had to learn how to be the face of not only just like what I wanted to post or just, what I was doing for the weekend and what sessions I was doing, but actually be able to post in a way that moves people to take action, whether that's to book a service or to engage in a training. And it's like, you have to understand there is more to it than just learning the skill. And so when you're going to these trainings, whether you're picking, again, like a sound healing training with Megan, or you're picking a breath work or a spinal energetics or a Reiki or whatever it is, understand that if they're only teaching you that skill, it's then like, okay, well, that's really good for me to know, but then how do I deliver it to the people? How do I get the people to come into my service? How do I get the people to understand what I do in a way that's going to help them feel moved to book that ticket, to sign up for that thing? Because if you can't explain it, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter if you're great at it. Nobody else will know.
No, and explain it in a well-rounded way, right?
Right.
Not just explain the like
The
energetic
jargon.
side, the
Yeah.
energetic side of it,
Yeah.
or the controversy, the other side. Words are, talk about the science.
Right.
If you just talk about science, you're going to turn a lot of people off. And I don't want to scare anyone off, but I have my students do all of the things that they're going to have to do when they leave if they want to be a sound practitioner, which is like set up the space, like
Yeah.
actually set up their instruments, understand what goes into planning an event. So I talk a lot about the
The
business.
business. Yes.
The business is a huge component of the training. How to market yourself. I have little sound bits in the module on how to explain a session, how to set up differently for a group ceremony versus a one-on-one ceremony. And then I have them do the thing. So like on day 1 or day 2, they're standing in a circle and they're introducing their sound bath. They're introducing themselves. Hey, we're going to be, experiencing sound today. This is what you could experience and this is how it works.
Yeah.
They're going to stumble, they're going to be nervous, they're going to stumble over their words. They're probably going to forget their name. They're going to forget like anything.
It's like when somebody asks you your phone number and you're like, I've only had one phone number, but I can't remember it for the life of me. I've had it for 20 years. You know what I mean? You're like, ah.
Yeah. And then by the end of the week, fortunately, I structure my training so that they have time to host an entire hour-long experience themselves. Like they work up, the first day they're doing just the breakdown of the skills, like how to work with the instruments, how to actually play them, how they work, just basic learning of the actual skill. And then they start slowly holding, 10-minute long sessions. And then they add a few more instruments. So they're not just playing the bowls.
Right.
Because you go to a sound bath and there's just bowls. You're like, that was nice, right? Like,
Yeah.
I needed a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so they understand how to work with gongs, how to work with chimes, how to, there's rain sticks, there's Tibetan bowls, tongue drums, all sorts of different instruments that are just beyond the crystal bowls, and how to structure the experience.
Yeah.
So like you were talking about like a warm up. If I have students that have gone through a yoga teacher training, I know that they understand how to structure a flow of something. So they understand, okay, this is a warm up. This is like the sun sal section. This is your standing series. Here's your peak pose. And then we start to cool down and then we have Shavasana.
Right.
So that's essentially a sort of structure that you can use for a sound bath because it works the same way. You were talking about priming the nervous system. You've gone to an experience where you feel like your nervous system wasn't relaxed or maybe more chaotic when you left than when you came. It's because the practitioner didn't understand that you have to set the space up energetically even before you start playing the instrument. So that has a lot to do with who you are as a practitioner and the space that you hold. And that's a skill that's learned. It's not just about the skill of playing the instruments. There's so much more that goes into it, and thinking about all of the amazing trainings that I've gone to, the less than amazing trainings that I've gone to. For the good
There's
teachers,
always ways both, you know?
the good teachers that I've had in my life, and like the less effective teachers.
Fantastical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastical teachers that I've had in my life, and what I feel the good ones did, how they made me feel, and tried to break down how they delivered that experience. And then for the teachers where it didn't work for me, why?
Yeah. Well, and usually it's stuff like that. I think it's things that typically when it doesn't work, it's not. I feel like you can like so many different styles of teachers, so many different styles of, again, if we're just staying on the sound, like so many different instruments, things like that. But it's not, it's that they understand how to create a sense of harmony beyond music. And so it's when they're transitioning from one instrument to the other. Does it just drop off and then another one starts? Or do they continue to play this one, slow it down, then this one kind of picks back up? So they kind of bleed into one another. When they start talking and everybody's been laying there quiet and they're like, okay. And you're like, you know, it scares you. So it's like a lot of what people, when they're judging whether they enjoyed the experience or not, or whether it was beneficial, was some of the way that you hold the space, that you orchestrate the experience. And I think that's kind of what your main point is that it's not just about, anybody can get up, and if you've ever used a wave drum, it's literally beads in a drum and you just kind of put it back and forth. Technically anyone can do this.
I call it the dumbest, easiest instrument.
Yeah.
I can go
It's
wrong.
real hard to fuck up, you guys. It's real very hard to fuck up a wave, but you can, actually. I have. So you can. You're like, oh, that was very and it all rolled and it was kind of jarring to myself and my eyes were open. So
Yeah, and that was something that you were just speaking on, is the volume that they're bringing people out of the experience with, or even the volume that you have, like your breakdown of space rules. And that's my like teacher voice, which is, if you've never been to this space, the bathroom's here, cell phones are off, front door is locked, la la la, so that they know that I'm in charge.
yeah.
They need to have this information because it's important.
Well, and it makes them feel safe. Hey, I'm taking charge. I'm the leader. And we're going into something where you need to be in the passenger seat. Don't worry, I got you.
And then once I'm done that, I'll make eye contact. I'm looking around the space, making sure that everyone is actually paying attention to what I am saying. And then I'll drop my voice down and be like, okay, I'm so excited, or I'm so happy that we're here. Like, welcome. If the experience was around, I don't know, Mother's Day or the new moon or full moon or something like that, I'll be like, I'm really excited to dive into.
Yeah. Like, happy new moon, Houston. Yeah. Like, that's not, relax.
My voice changes, and
Yeah.
those are those scientific principles that not only go into the actual facilitation of the sound, but that go into the facilitation of you with the experience as as the facilitator.
Yeah.
So you're a facilitator of sound, yes, and you need to think about like the frequency, the resonance, the pitch of the actual sound, but you also have to do that with yourself in the experience as well. And learning all of those things, it's a lot.
Yeah. I would love to dive into just a little bit of the science behind some of this, like sound, because again, I think so many people are like, it feels good, but they can't tell you really why it feels good. And even practitioners, they're like, again, even that, it's kind of, and I feel like it's kind of danced around so much. So I would love, obviously we have to go to your full training to get all of the science, but yeah, why does it feel good?
So you can break it down on 3 different levels. So let's start at the top, at the brain. The brain waves slow down. So the frequency of your brain waves slow down, which is why if you reach that more meditative state, your thoughts start to lengthen out. So normally in day to day, we're functioning in a beta wave state or like a high beta wave state. And that is very analytical. And like beta plus is where most of us live because we are doing multiple things at the same time. We're on our phone. We have push notifications on all of our apps. So
Hate that.
yeah, I do.
I think I have my text messages, and I want to say maybe Instagram, but I think that's just for messages. I don't even think it's for notifications, like lights or anything.
Yeah, I have
'Cause
text, WhatsApp, and then my Facebook Messenger, only because I use Facebook Messenger internationally because you don't get charged data if you talk or text
I
on
didn't
Facebook
know that.
Messenger. Yeah, it has to be on Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little
She
trouble.
travels a lot, you guys. She's literally all over the place. So, always looking for like,
Yeah, how to not get gouged.
yeah.
But also, if you are thinking about becoming a sound practitioner and you're like, well, I have to travel with all this stuff. You can travel with all the stuff. I can give you the dimensions on how many gongs and wave drums and rain sticks and mallets and everything you can fit into one bag. Travel all over the world.
That alone, the training's worth it. To be able to Tetris all of my instruments.
Yeah.
Because it is hysterical. I feel like the amount of times that I've like traveled with my bowls and people are like, what's this? And I was like, and you're like moving it around. It's got a rain stick in there and chime. So it's making all these weird ass noises. It's so, TSA is so fun.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the science. On a brain level, your brain waves start to slow down. And that happens because of a term called entrainment. When you're exposed to a frequency or a tone that is consistent over a long period of time, your body starts to I know this is on YouTube, so
I know. I was like, the podcast people can't see your hand, girl.
my hands are going together. Your body starts to impose to that stimulus. So that is why pacing at the beginning of a sound healing and the instruments that you use at the beginning are so important, because you're downshifting, right? Here's another terminology. You're going from fifth gear systematically from fourth to third to second to first.
Great analogy for those of us who understand what manual is.
Right? If you've given a manual, you understand what take it out of fifth and slam on. You're just not in a gear. You just slam on the brakes.
That's when it feels like you're like, what is it? Yeah, that's when people come in and they start with like this really heavy gong and you're like, the fucking this.
You're like, what is happening?
Yes.
So you have to understand where these people are in their nervous system, which is in sympathetic, which is stressed out, right? And they're in a high beta or a beta brainwave state. And you need to bring them from fifth gear or sixth gear if you're a slap ship to fourth, to third, to second.
No, it's the third.
And then to first gear in a calm, relaxed way. And so your brainwaves start to slow down. And so you go from beta to alpha and from alpha to theta. And theta is termed the healing brainwave frequency. And it's the space in between. So alpha is you're still alert. Theta is you're in like a lucid dream state. And then on the other end of theta is delta, which is dream sleep. And those are the people that come into the sound bath and they're snoring.
Oh yeah, I love those people. And I'm like, how long do I let you sleep? Like, once people start like talking and stuff like that, usually then those people wake up. But I always just let them sleep. I'm like, until I gotta go, you're fine. You can nap.
Or you just get your gong out and then bring them up. Bring it up a little bit. But taking the brain from an activated state to a more slow brainwave frequency into theta, and delta is great. Delta is the people that come in and they've been functioning in the sympathetic nervous system for so long, they don't have the capacity or the chemicals in their body to downshift from sympathetic into a parasympathetic or a more relaxed state in that sequential downshift from 5 to
No,
12.
like they're happy just to like, they will jump huge jumps.
They have,
Yeah.
their bodies has to jump because
Yeah.
they don't have enough chemical, I'm not going to get into all of that stuff, but they don't have the right chemicals in their body to shift them down from 5 to 1. They go 5, slam into first, right? They just, because their body needs the rest.
Yeah.
And that's why they're in that.
Like when they finally get a chance to finally down regulate, instead of, again, going through the like, I slowly fall asleep, it's like they close their eyes and their eyes have been waiting for that moment to feel safe. And then they pass out.
Yeah, their body's like, oh my God, thank God. I have all
Yeah.
of this repair work that I need to do.
Yes.
And that's what happens
Yeah.
in these sessions is your body shifts into theta, right? Dubbed as the healing brainwave state, and also into parasympathetic. And both of those states of the body is where you repair yourself.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to the Jiffy Lube and you reach your theta wave state and your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's when they plug the computer into your car and it pulls up all the things that need to be done.
Yep.
And so fortunately, we don't have to tell our body what it needs to do. We just have to create the space for our body to do that.
Do it. Yeah.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people, it's interesting. I notice a ton of people, if you do something else, if you throw a sound bath like at the end, the amount of people that sign up it literally like doubles sometimes. And I think part of that is because it's such a passive experience, but so much of our society is chronically in sympathetic dominance, so constantly in fight or flight. When I did my PhD like research, it was interesting with the equipment that I used to measure what state their nervous system was in. Shows you kind of all sorts of things, but it was fascinating. It was a lot of like nervous system markers and things like this. So a lot of people with autoimmune disorders have a very dysregulated nervous system, and it showed basically their brain waves during this 300 beats, heart beats. And it's the same thing as when you wear like an aura ring or something else and it tells you your brain waves. What's syncing up is it's the heart and the brain that sync together. And so the heart, when the brain is changing, the heart is changing too. So people don't understand is that when their heart is constantly going, they're like, I feel anxious, I feel overwhelmed often, or I feel like really depressed, but I'm taking really shallow breaths. Like that is all sympathetic dominance. So that when they come to these things, they can't find it in their own environment. And so as soon as they lay down, it's the first time that their body feels like it can relax and it doesn't have to do anything to achieve it. This is always available to us. Sound is one way, and it's a really powerful way. Again, it's a little bit more passive when you're going to things like this. And I don't think practitioners understand the responsibility that is either.
There's so many things that you just said that I could talk about for hours, but the last one is the responsibility, and that is why, as is a hill I will die on, you need to be trained.
Yeah.
Because this is a type of science that is used in modern day medicine, in hospitals, right? They use sound frequencies to break up kidney stones. They use ultrasounds to observe a baby.
What's going on in the body? Yes.
Yeah. And so for us to understand that doctors in a clinical setting can use
Sound.
science, science, but when I'm sitting up in front of a room, I don't have to have the same credentials.
And I think terminology like ultrasound or something, it's become so commonplace that people don't realize. I'm like, you do realize what they're doing is shooting a frequency, a sound. It's like echolocation, and it's bouncing off things, and that's giving you the image. It is sound, literally embodied, and like the physicality of it, like that's what you're seeing. And I think sometimes when that stuff is used in a clinical setting, because it becomes so part of it and the science of how it's done, or even x-rays. I'm just going in for an x-ray. Okay, cool. Do you realize that, again, that frequency is on the spectrum, same spectrum of light, it's just a different wavelength? So you can see light, but you can't see x-rays, but they're along the same spectrum. You can't see microwave either, but you can feel or see by pictures or something else what it's doing. You're using frequency medicine to do this, whether you're getting an ultrasound, going to a sound bath, getting an x-ray. All of those are using frequency to change, alter, or see or observe the biology.
Right. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can disrupt
Mm-hmm.
people's
Yeah.
systems. And, you were saying, I felt worse than I came. I felt anxious. I felt
Yeah.
disorganized. That's what people are doing that don't have the proper training. And
They're just winging it. They just think it's cool.
they just think it's cool and they just want to boost their numbers. They bring in a sound bowl at the end of their yoga class and they're like, I'm just going to do sound at for Shavasana. And yes, 95% of the people in your class will probably be excited, but there's a lot of people that sound is overwhelming to
Yeah.
them and also harmful.
Yeah.
And it's irresponsible. It's so irresponsible. And I just that's why I include so much in my training. That's why I include, the science of sound, the energetics of sound. So they know why it's working. And then they also know how it works within not just their body, but the bodies of their clients. And that becomes something that, you can teach and you can train as much as possible in 1 week. But holding the space for 35, 20, 15 people versus one-on-one, I'm not going to say one is easier than the other because in a one-on-one setting, you're going deeper into their energetic body and the work that you're doing with them. But being able to read and hold space and deliver an experience for an entire room of people whose
They're all different.
they're all different.
Yeah.
They all look different. They're all there for a different reason. Their energetic bodies are different. How they, the traumas that they've had in their life are different. Their nervous systems are different. And you're up there thinking, okay, cool. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be great. And the whole room fills with people, and you realize because you're a skilled practitioner, you're looking out at these people, you're like, that's not gonna do it. That's not gonna work. Like, how do I
shift and navigate based on what's in front of me in the moment? And if you are not a trained or practitioner, you don't have the skills always to pivot. And like, how many times are people, again, throwing some sound bowls at the end of their class because that's what they want to do and not reading the room of all the people that are there? If all the people that are there are having a hard time, like I practice a lot of Ashtanga, so it's like 5 breaths in every shape. If in these shapes for 5 breaths and they're fidgeting and they're moving and they're all these things, like probably not their, third-eyed crown notes.
Yeah.
They're already too much energy up there. You need to move energy downward. You need a C note. You need like things that are going to pull them down. Like, it's like understanding it. Well, I didn't bring those bowls. Those bowls aren't set up. Well, then you're not you can't just be throwing whatever you want out. And it's one thing, like, people don't know always, like, if they're coming for a sound bath, they obviously don't know, like, your intention or your, whatever for the class, but it's being skilled enough and educated enough to be able to pivot that makes a real difference for people.
And it's a learned, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. There's always going to be something thrown,
Yeah.
a wrench thrown in wherever. And you're like, oh, shit, I wasn't prepared for that.
There's always somebody. I always joke, there is always one. As much as I would like to, like, be like, no, I would say a lot of times, especially smaller groups, sometimes it's, you're like, oh, everybody was like great. And you're able, but you get some of the larger groups and I'm like, oh, there's always one. There's always one.
Well, and it's not even that there's always one person. There's always going to be,
something that happens.
One of my friends shared a space with a church and they started choir practice in the middle of her sound bath. The studio that I host at is in between like a seafood restaurant and a child care facility. So there's a hand towel machine very close to where I sit. And so you can always tell when somebody is like, had
In the
just washed
bathroom. Yeah.
just washed their hands and is like going blam and rolling out the paper. And those are the things that you can't hear in normal life, but you
Right.
hear when everyone is silent. And you can hear all of the things. You're like, my God, thank God their eyes are closed.
Yeah.
The saving grace to sound healing is they're on the ground with their eyes closed and they can't see. So they can't see you almost light yourself on fire. They can't see you almost knock your $500 bowl over or crack it with
Oh, yeah.
your beautiful new crystal necklace
Yeah.
that you have on that you leaned forward and it knocked in.
Yeah. And it's like ching, ching, ching. And you're like, yeah. Or like the time I stepped over a bowl, but like somebody came around the corner, kind of scared me. My foot barely touched one of my bowls and it literally just came off the little plastic ring, touched the floor, shattered into a bajillion pieces.
Yeah.
It's like perfect.
Or you very quickly realize what is good attire and not. Big flowy dresses are wonderful until, again, you walk around the room and you catch your
Foot on
leg on a bowl, or you catch it on somebody's water bottle. So, these are the things that we talk about in the training that you wouldn't think about. But it's real life. And that's what I'm trying to prepare my students with, is how to become an embodiment of this work and really live it. And that's what a skilled practitioner is not just somebody who can create a beautiful sound experience, which you will be able to, because you'll learn the fundamentals of how to work with the instruments. You'll learn the basic fundamentals of sound and how to layer different sounds together, how the different instruments affect the body. A gong is going to have a very different effect on the body versus a chime.
Right.
And, like where to introduce those those instruments in a sound bath. I almost said poses, because it's an easy metaphor. You don't just go into yoga class and be like, okay, we're going to start off in Natrajasana, in dancer's pose.
Like, yeah, that's never your first shape.
No. Or, like head to knee, like standing head to knee or something ridiculous. No, that doesn't make any sense. So being able to know, like, okay, this is how I could start. I could also start like this. These instruments make the body feel this way. These instruments bring this effect into the experience.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, it's over. Now what do I do?
Yeah. It's literally like creating a concert. When you walk in, it's like a lot of times they don't play the most popular song first. They don't play the like one that gets everybody like super hype always first. Like usually there's some type of like either introduction or like one that's like popular but not too popular, or one that like everybody knows so we can all sing along. Like there's some type of like, we're trying to create some community, some resonance, some connection. And then we start to build. We don't like slam right into it and get going, and on the same thing coming out. If you just like, and then just let everybody down, like they're too heightened to relax. So now you've put them, again, when we talk about brainwaves, you've put them in a state that is not actually slow and low enough to be able to experience, again, healing and integration. Because it's thinking about things, or it's more heightened, it's more sensitive, it's more alert. That's not what we want.
And to the effect of, let's say we got them into the space, into the theta brainwave space, and shifted them into the parasympathetic nervous system, and they're very calm and relaxed. Right? Bringing them out of the experience and having them integrate back into the real world, like preparing them to walk outside and get in their car and operate
a vehicle,
is a part of the experience as well.
Yeah.
And being able to hold space for the experiences people had when they talk, when they talk through it, and understanding your scope as a practitioner.
We're not a therapist.
We're not doctors, right? We don't prescribe people. We're not, I don't even know what to call this, but a coach. Like, we're not coaching them. As much as like as much as I know about the energetic body and the science and the why and even in our sessions, right, you were like, oh, something's happening on the right side of your body because this is blah, blah, blah. No, we're not doing any of that. We're not
No.
looking up the spiritual meaning of this or telling them why I think that this is what that means. We're not trying to direct their experience. We're just
Right.
holding the space for them to have it and then helping them come to a state of integration and like a space of coherence
Yeah.
with it.
So, like, I'm curious, and I feel like that some of our practitioners would love this too. Like, how did you end up kind of getting more into sound? Because again, we kind of talked about your background. I mean, again, it's like dance, and then you got really into like studying the brain and things like this, and then like yoga and yoga teacher trainings. And do you feel like this was kind of like a natural evolution for you? Well, obviously, but
No, not really. I was living in Nicaragua. I have lived there and taught yoga and personal trained and paddleboard for years. And there was a guy who went to the same 300-hour teacher training as me in Bali.
mhm.
We weren't in the same class, but we went to the same schooling, Zuna Yoga. If anybody's looking for a 300-hour, great program. And he was going to a sound healing training in Guatemala. And he's wanted to connect with me because he was in Costa Rica and anyway, blah, blah, blah. And so he told me about this sound healing training. And I was just like, I want to do that too. And so of course, I was down there dealing with a bunch of grief and trying to do all of the things. And so I found the sound healing training in Guatemala and signed up for it, of course. And I was supposed to go in July because their March training was sold out. And so, whatever. Long story short, I was in Costa Rica. They had one spot open for their March training. I got it. Went home, changed my bags, and went to Guatemala and did this 2-week, 100-hour sound healing training that had a lot of singing in it. I did not know
I
that was a
love
thing.
that.
I will just say that my training does not have a lot of singing in it. It makes you real uncomfortable. And I mean, that's
Good.
not why. Yeah, that's not why. But anyway, we were singing up at the top of a mountain. There was no power. That's where I started using a diva cup because there was no trash. So if you don't know what a diva cup is, just Google it. It was an experience. And the next day I flew home from that training, and that's when my partner passed away. And it was the tools that I learned in that training that literally kept me alive. And it wasn't necessarily the bowls, but I was, using the mantra repetition and just really kind of anchoring into the frequency that was created within me in that 2 weeks of the
Yeah.
training to, keep me on this planet because I didn't want to be here. I was, I was suicidal and I was just like, I have got to figure out a way to get through this. And, yoga, my 300-hour training that I went to in Bali, I signed up for it in October. I was in my grad school. I graduated in December. I paid for it in full. Didn't think about it again. It was in April and my dad passed away in February. So it was like the training in Bali got me through the death of my father. And then this sound healing training got me through the loss of my partner. And that's the reason why I have the trainings that I do is because I know how powerful these tools are. And it's the reason that that I'm just so passionate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even I think when you look at all indigenous cultures, they all had elements of music and sound and movement and these kinds of things that in our society, again, like you're like, oh, it's like weird and uncomfortable to like use my voice. Most people feel that way. But it's not something that I think when you sit around together as a community and you chant or you do these things, like you hear everybody's song. You hear everybody's, like, it becomes this like communal experience rather than a performative one. And I think sometimes even, sound and stuff like that, like it's an opportunity. I think there's like this intrinsic knowing of like that music is so healing. And I also think that music does things on the flip side too. So it's interesting as I've gotten older, and I would say as I've tuned into how music or words make me feel, I'm like, oh, I don't, there's songs that I really, really loved and they're fun and stuff like that. But I'm like, I have literally zero desire to like listen to that regularly. Like if it comes on when like my kids are in the car and it's fun or whatever, then we listen to it. But understanding how powerful sound and frequency is, I think it's almost like you needed these trainings to be able to hold you at that level of healing
Yeah.
when you're going through something like that, only something so primitive like that can really carry us through. I think it's community more than anything else when we're experiencing hard times where we feel communal, and we do that through music, through gathering together, through all these groups, which are all part of this healing.
Well, and another component that I teach in my trainings, and it's how I facilitate my sound, I call them sound ceremonies, is to have people introduce themselves. And that's why I think my community is so strong, is it's not just me sitting up there. I go around the room and I give people the opportunity to introduce themselves and tell me what they're going through and why they're here. And that's a part of the experience,
Yeah.
is they need to be heard. Like they need to be seen, they need to be heard, they need to feel like they have a space in this experience, even if it's just 60 minutes, and that I see
Yeah.
them in that, right? They're not just another ticket sale to me. They're like they mean something. They're my family, right? I call
Yeah.
my client, like a lot of my clients are some of my best friends. Like I call them like my family members. And it's because it's not about me. It's about them.
Yeah.
And the yoga training, I always knew that I would do that. It was a natural progression for me being a dancer. Just I was very comfortable with like using my body.
Mhm.
And the very first yoga training that I ever hosted, my student asked me on the first day, "When are you going to do a sound healing training?" And I was like, I'm going to be like, I got to get through freaking this first.
You're like, I have to be determined.
Well, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I don't have the skills. I'm not a musician. And I didn't really think about it for almost 3 years. And I just started to really embody the work. Like I just started to dive into offering sound and like
Mhm.
having that be one of my main offerings is
Yeah.
sound, and it just became more so a part of who I am as an individual. And that's when I started to realize, hey, I can actually teach this. I'm not going to
Mhm.
teach it like a music teacher because I'm not a musician, but I
Right.
can teach it from a scientific lens, and I can teach it from an energetic lens, and I can teach it from a physiological perspective. And that's
That's also, yeah, like it's not necessarily about having the best song as it more is about creating a space to feel.
yeah. And I,
Mm.
and being able to speak on those like broader topics is so much more advantageous than just being able to break down the music side of it, because the music side of it really isn't. You're not playing music, first of all. You're not making a song,
Yeah.
but you are making sense of sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm not a musician, so if you want to know like heavy music stuff, I'm not the trainer for you. But if you want to know how to be relatable and how to stand in your own authentic voice as a sound practitioner and whatever it is that you want to do with it, you don't have to be a practitioner to do a training. It's just
Yeah.
like a yoga teacher training. You don't have to be a yoga teacher to do a yoga training. But if you've ever gone to a sound bath or a sound healing, and it's had you've had an experience that left a mark on you, and you're curious, why do I feel this way? Why did I have that emotional you know, uh, why was I so emotional? Why did I feel like I was floating through space? Why did I like have a conversation with
Or
my
like,
father?
yeah, like, whoa, that was so, like, if you've had a whoa, that was so wild
Yeah.
moment, a training's for you.
Yeah. And I like to kind of be the best at things, but no.
Huh.
But I host the training in a retreat experience. So it's not just like you're sitting there learning all this material and you're like, oh my God. No, you're in literal paradise. And I structure it in a way so that there's big breaks during the days. And, you can go to the waterfall. We'll go to the waterfall together as a group, or there's a, river on site of the retreat center. And there's massages included. And it's just,
It's an experience.
and that's part of the actual training, is being in a space where you're able to absorb information.
Yeah.
And I was kind of talking to you about this earlier, is I know that my nervous system is finally relaxing because I want to learn and I have the space to learn. And so for those of you who don't know me, I have a 9-month-old daughter and it's my first child. And I don't do well in the winter. So before I had my child, I spent the winters abroad teaching yoga, sound healing, running retreats and trainings in generally Central America. And so being in the cold with a screaming child, she's great. I have a really great child.
I was like, oh, listen, she is not a screaming child. I've been around screaming children. She is not a,
Okay, well, I
not
was
that
gonna
she doesn't scream, but
right.
she is so good. Like,
She is
pretty chill.
great. She's a great baby. Let's just go with doesn't sleep through the night ever, but maybe we had our closest sleep through the night experience last night.
A
I
Holland.
was just, yeah. So I just was extremely sleep deprived and I couldn't learn. Like I didn't
Yeah.
have the space for anything else.
Yeah.
And that's a reason why I hosted retreats in the past that focused more on healing, is because you've got to get yourself out of the environment that
Yes.
is suffocating you,
Yeah.
or overwhelming you, or like not inspiring you. It's not even like the bad things. It's just you're bored.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes too, again, it's like your environment is always going to stimulate the same response unless there's some type of internal change. Right. And so a lot of ways that you do that is you go somewhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be a travel place, but it's like taking yourself out of your regular routine, your regular environment, and it kind of upregulates the nervous system a bit to pay attention a little more and be like, okay, this is new. I need to adapt. And these things, like, you become a little bit more perceptive and receptive to new ideas, new experiences, things like that. And then you can take that home. So whether that be, again, you're like, I want to learn something new. Learning it from your computer at home is a very different experience than going to the yoga studio, than is going to a YTT or something like that's abroad that you're completely immersed. It's like trying to, do Duolingo versus like going and living in the country for a couple of months. Like, very different experience. Can you get it both ways? Yes. But which way typically works faster and which way typically is more influential and creates a more lasting result? Typically being immersed. And that's, I think, why you're seeing a lot of people move to, like you and I do, where education is included in a retreat so that you can be more open to receiving the information and be able to take that home with you.
Well, and a big part of it is it's not necessarily about the information. It's not just about the information for you to be a good practitioner, but it's about having the information so that you can start to source your own like power back. You get to have these tools
Yeah.
to be your own best advocate, to be your own best healer, to
Yeah.
be the person that knows, right, if this is a yes or a no experience for me.
It's like, it's the difference between reading it in a book and having it be a lived experience. Can you describe it to somebody by reading it in a book? Yes. But the lived experience gives nuances. If I'm trying to describe even a yoga shape to somebody that I've never done, I don't understand the nuances of what it feels like in my body to be able to then cue to them, Okay, try like this. Notice if you breathe this way and then this space of your body, whatever. It's like the taking yourself out of those regular environments allows your body to be more receptive for it to be experiential wisdom rather than just knowledge that you've learned in your brain, but your body doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
And it's just always amazing watching people walk in on day one and then watching them leave on the last day, and just their whole journey of not just the skills that they've learned. And it always amazes me when people do their like final practice or lead session, like just how confident they feel.
Yeah.
And versus when they came in and on the first day, they're stumbling over their words. They're just like, how do I, we're learning like bowl mechanics and like the different stroke techniques and how to make the bowls sound. And how to play two bowls at once. And they're like, and then they're just up there like doing the whole thing. And then the gong and the chimes and the thing. And they're like doing their whole meditation.
And it's like they have 8 arms all of a sudden.
I'm just sitting back there like, they don't need me anymore. But that's the thing, they don't.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what
you want it. Yeah.
I want them to feel that.
Yeah.
To feel like they don't need me. No. They don't. If I've done my job well, they don't need me.
Yeah.
But they'll always have me, right? They can always reach out to me. I have a student, she's from Sweden, Nina. She just purchased her own, she got her own rental space in Sweden. And she's doing the damn thing. And she like reaches out to me all the time, like asks me questions, chimes into the WhatsApp group. And this was from the first training, June of 2025. And, just everyone is just keeping us up to date. Like, oh, I'm hosting a sound bath here. Another student just opened a wellness collective. She's a massage therapist and bought a space next door and is
so happy for her.
Yeah, opening a whole new wellness space. And so it's just dropping her grand opening invitation in the WhatsApp group. And so like I'm always here to answer questions. Like you will feel so confident and like you have all of the tools and to go out and start hosting events. And that's what I want. But
Yeah.
I'm always here to like answer questions like somebody's asking me this, or what do you think about this idea? Or just be like, I want to share this win with you. I'm like, yes, please share all of your wins with me.
Well, I think that's the difference too of like, again, just taking any old training online or, chat GBTing it, is that understanding that if you're looking to be this safe space for other people to come to you, you also need a safe space to be able to share like, hey, this happened at my training. Has this happened to anybody else before? Hey, like I had this huge win, and like I don't think the people that don't do this type of work will understand what it means to like somebody approached me and asked me to play sound for a corporate event, and this feels really cool. I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. Blah blah blah. These are the things like, and somebody who doesn't understand kind of that world or hasn't gone through that training can't always relate. They can be really excited for you, but they aren't going to be able to give you the best advice or, be a really good sounding board because they don't understand the nuances. So having, again, like this support system that never goes away. And I think that's what's missing in honestly, like a lot of online education. People are like, buy my course, buy my course, buy my course. And it's a lot of like, I understand as a practitioner, you can't spend all of your time with all of your people all of the time. And I get that. But I think what's going to happen is you're already seeing a huge shift of like people that as much as they want the education, they want the community and the connection that goes with it. Yeah. So signing up with like to learn sound from Megan or, any other like sound practitioner is not just about learning the bowls and about, the practicality or the structure of a session. It's understanding that you're like accessing now a community that you'll have forever. And that's healing for you too.
It is, because I'm sure you do the same thing. You're like, am I making a difference? Like, am I actually changing people's lives? And unless I have this space where this two-way street where they feel comfortable to keep in contact with me, I don't I'm like, am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
am I actually doing anything? I'm like, yeah, okay. I am.
I am doing something.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. This, the Sarah, she was one of my first students in the sound. I did a local training. I do them here in Maryland. So it's over it was 3 months, but I think I'm gonna space it out into 4 months now. She did the training 2 years ago, and now she's opening her own wellness space.
Yeah. You guys like, and that's the thing is like, I think so many people think of it as just this like little add-on, but when you really look at like sound and things like that, and you look at it more like a ceremony or again, like an experience rather than just something that's like the tail end of something, it really becomes something that can be profoundly healing and something that people will seek out actively of like, just like they do a yoga class. Like, I really love this style of yoga class. Like, they're going to come every week. They're going to sign up for memberships. They're going to do these things because they realize the profound effect that it can have on them and their health. Overall, well,
And then you'll have people that are like, well, I only do sound healing with you. And I'm like, oh, that makes me feel good.
that's cool.
Yeah. And, or, you'll have people make comments like, wow, I've gone to a sound healing before and, I didn't feel so great. It wasn't that great of an experience, but I really enjoyed your session.
And you're like, I'm glad you gave it another shot.
And so that's all that I want to be able to offer to not only my clients, but my students, like the people that come to my training, is that they feel confident to create an environment that's actually going to set their clients up for a healing experience.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like that is a great note to end on. I am so grateful for you being here. I always ask one question at the end, because this is really a podcast about understanding like what if people had to do, who they had to become to be this frequency of the person who's hosting or leading sound ceremonies, or the person who's creating this business, or the person who's doing whatever. It's like understanding more of like, how do we leave our pearls and nuggets of wisdom with the world? So if you were riding an elevator and you only got one floor to go up, so maybe 30 seconds,
oh my God.
If you're generous, what would be the one like secret to life that you would share with somebody that thus far to be true?
Life is too short to do anything that doesn't set your soul on fire. And it's not too late to pivot.
Oh, honestly, we could do a whole podcast, her and I, on like pivoting.
On the pivot.
Like, you guys watch Friends? I'm not a big Friends person, but that is literally the line
there are so many pivots.
I know. And yeah, again, we could do a whole episode on the pivot. Maybe we will. Maybe that'll be the next one if that's the case.
There are so many.
Yep. Keep an eye out.
So many pivots that I want to talk about in my company, but I'm not going to. But there are pivots coming. Good pivots.
Oh, so maybe you should go follow her, you guys. The Embodied Warrior on Instagram. You can check out our website, theembodiedwarrior.com. Megan, I just love you. I mean, you know this, but I'm so grateful for you, like, blessing my community with all of your, like, pearls of wisdom. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And yes, I would like to invite anyone that is listening to this podcast to our 50-hour practitioner training and retreat. It's in Costa Rica. It's this October the 25th through the 31st, and it's at one of the most magical retreat centers in the Southern Pacific. So if you are at all interested in frequency healing through sound, then I would love to have you.
She's your gal. She's your gal. Honestly, she's phenomenal. I've met several practitioners and it's like they know their shit. So like you want to go to somebody that if you're going to do training and you're going to start adding in this stuff, or maybe you haven't been trained, but you've been playing bowls and you feel like you're just fucking winging it. Maybe now is the time. October, you need to get your butt in a seat in Costa Rica. Darn, it's terrible to have to go to Costa Rica, but you should do it.
You should do it. There's only 8 spaces left. So if you're thinking about it, definitely reach out to me.
Love it. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here. Everybody, until next time, cheers.